Good morning. Let's cover savings guided notes. I'm going to start with just simple interest in this video, and then I will go and make different videos for each of the sections to have it broken down for you. Okay, let's get started. All right, definition of principal. Principal is the amount of money. So it's the amount of money initially invested or initially borrowed. So the amount of money initially invested or borrowed. Let me give you an example. All right, say you go and you want to open up a savings type account, like a CD, which we haven't even talked about yet. And you bring in $1,000 and you say, I want to invest this to gain interest. Well, that amount, that $1,000 is the principal. It's the amount that you put towards the investment. What if you went to get a loan for a car? So the amount of money that you initially borrowed from the bank to buy the car is the principal, okay? Everything else on top of that is going to be interest of some sort. APR, speaking of interest, is an annual percentage rate. So it's always going to be a percent, but we can't do anything with a percent. So we have to switch it to a decimal. You always have to do that before you can do anything with it. And to switch from a percent to a decimal. So say something is 3%, you're going to have to go 3 divided by 100 to get the decimal of 0.03. Now, the annual percentage rate is the amount of, it's the percentage of the money that you're going to be either getting or paying. That's the APR over a year. For most long-term simple interest loans, it is common for interest to be paid on an annual basis. In other words, it doesn't stay in the account. If it's your account that you went and put money towards, they would, you'd get a check every year to get that interest back. So interest is going to be earned each year on the principal. And that's the one thing about simple interest. Simple interest, I'm going to write this down. This is important. Simple interest is only paid on the principal. Okay. So any kind of money that you make off of it is strictly based on the initial amount. All right. There's nothing else figured into the amount of money that you're getting from each annual basis. Okay. Suppose you borrow $10,000 and agree to repay it with 3% annual simple interest in 5 years. Okay. Well, we already have that our starting balance is $10,000. The interest earned, well, we've got 3% annual simple interest. So 3 divided by 100 is 0.03. And it looks like we're going to go up for 5 years. So in order to find out the interest earned in this section here, it's just 0.03 times 10,000. And you're going to get $300. So when you add that 10,000 and the 300, you get 10,300. So that's our ending balance. It also becomes our starting balance for the next year. Okay. So then we're going to earn interest again. So we're going to add what? Well, you're not going to multiply again. You're done with simple interest because every stinking year, you're going to get the same exact amount of interest. And why is that? Well, it's because the interest for simple interest is only based on the original, on the principal. Okay, so that 3% that you gain every year is only on the principal and it has nothing to do with the rest of it. Okay, so let's finish out this little chart here. So 10,300 plus 300 is 10,600. We're going to bring that over here. 10,600 plus 300 is 10,900. And that comes over back to the starting. Start with 10,900, get another 300 for the year, and that's 11,200. And then the last year starts off with 11,200, get another 3, and that's $11,500. Okay, so over a 5-year period of time, the initial investment, the principal, was $10,000. The interest earned based on the APR of 3% was $300 every year. So for 5 years, how much did you get in interest? Well, you got 300. Where's my pen? You get 300 times 5 years. So you ended up with $1,500 over those 5 years. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about in regards to simple interest is for your exam, for your homework, for anything that we do in this class regarding simple interest, it will always have the word simple. Okay. So let's keep going. You would not only repay your friend the $10,000 you borrowed, you would also pay simple interest for each year you'd borrowed the money. The total amount you would repay your friend would be $11,500, which is the original. The original was $10,000 plus the interest, okay, over the 5 years. You are to assume that with simple interest, the money is pocketed when it's received. So it's not reinvested in the original amount. Formula for simple interest over time. To find interest just for simple interest only, I is equal to the principal times the rate times the time. And down here, I have the listing of what these are representative of. So you can pause the video to read through these. I is the dollar amount of interest. So that's literally the amount of interest earned. You can only use this formula for simple interest. Simple interest only. Because we're going to be doing different types of interest. And I want to make sure you understand you can't use this for compound or annuities or anything else. You can strictly use it for simple interest. In fact, most of the time I find that I don't even use the I equals PRT. I use the one that I find the balance for and then find the interest from there. So to find the balance in the account after 2 years using simple interest, it's A equals P1 plus the rate times time. P is the principal and A is the amount in the account at the end. So P is the original investment. It's the money that you just started off with. A is the amount of money you want to have at the end. So when you're all done, A is the total amount. And then the rate is telling you how much money you're making on top of the principal, and the time is based on how long you're leaving it in there in years. All right, side note, bonds are essentially, and this is just to help you understand what our next question is. Bonds are essentially a loan made to the bond issuer, which is a company or government, by you, the bond holder. In return for this loan, the issuer agrees to pay interest, often annually, and bonds have a maturity date at which time you get paid back the original amount you invested, the original bond value. All right, so let's look at example 1. Suppose your city is building a new park and issues bonds to raise the money to build it. You obtain a $5,000 bond that pays 4.5% interest annually. It matures in 5 years. Okay, so there's no question here right now, but we can go either way with this. You can either go I equals PRT to find the interest. I like to just find the total amount, like I said earlier, and I don't really waste my time with I equals PRT. So I'm going to go with my A is equal to P1 plus RT. Because this is usually the ultimate goal of wanting to know what's the final end number. And in this case, that would be A. It makes you more comfortable for each of these problems going forward, come over here to the right or the left and just create a little listing of what these are. A, P, R, T, P, R, and T. A is what we're looking for. P is the amount originally invested. And so we have to go find that. Well, that's $5,000, so 5,000. The rate is the percent, but in decimal form. It's 4.5%. So 4.5 over 100 is 0.045. And then the time is the number of years the money is left in the account, 5 years. Now we can plug and chug. So 5,000, 1 plus the rate is 0.045 times 5. All right, let's whip out the calculators. If you like to do order of operations, then you're just going to be multiplying your 0.045 times 5 equals, add 1 equals, and then times 5,000 equals. If you're left to right, when we just discussed this in class, take your calculators and you're going to enter in 5,000, open a parenthesis, 1 plus, open a parenthesis again, 0.045 times 5, close parenthesis, close it again, and hit equal. So the total amount of money you're going to have at the end is A is equal to $6,125. All right. From this number, we can find how much interest has been gained. Okay. So to find the interest, you just take the A, it's just A minus P, which I don't think I showed you this in class, but to me, it just makes more sense than to use I equals PRT, because we're going to use this exact formula, if you want to call it that, for everything going forward in this class. So the interest is equal to 6125 minus the original $5 grand. So the amount of interest received is $1,125. All right, let's put this in sentence form. You would receive $6,000, don't forget your dollar sign, $6,125 in the end. It's trash day, can you hear that? With 1,125 of it as interest. Okay. Example A, imagine that you deposit $1,000 into a bank that promises to pay you 5% interest each year. Then at the end of the year, you would get a check for how much? So they're wanting to know the interest only at this point. Okay. Well, we can just use I equals PRT on this one. It's just easier if they're only asking for the interest. So the interest is the principal, which is $1,000, times the rate, which is 5%. You have to change it to a decimal. 5 over 100 is 0.05. And then how many years? Oh, well, this is just 1 year. Cool. Calculator. 1,000 times 0.05 times 1 is just 50. So you would get a check for $50. You would get a check for $50. Don't forget your symbol. Okay. And the symbol for the dollar goes first before the number. So many of you have seen with the dollar symbol at the end. Please make sure the dollar symbol is at the beginning, because that's how we write it here. So during 3 years' time, you would receive total interest of what? Well, 3 years, that's supposed to be a Y. For 3 years at $50 a year, you're going to get $150. You would receive $150 over 3 years. Oh, that's it for simple interest. I'll come back with compound. Cool beans.